Hi, I'm Cecilia. Welcome to today's study of Genesis. For more of me, find me on my Facebook, my Instagram, LinkedIn, and also my website. With them, you'll find more of who I am and what I stand for. In today's study of Genesis, we're going to continue on with Genesis chapter 26. We have learned previously of Isaac and his move from Belahairoi all the way to Gerar, and how God spoke to him and told him to remain in the land of Gerar, and he was told not to move to Egypt, and he remained there. And we know that he planted there and he harvested 100-fold of what he had sowed, and we see God blessed him, that he became rich and he gained more and more until he became wealthy. And we see that the men of the area also became envious of him because of how wealthy he had become or how wealthy he had grown. Despite of the drought that everyone was experiencing, it seemed like Isaac was not experiencing it. His flock, his herds, his servants continued on to grow and become more, and he became wealthy until the king of the Philistines came to him and asked him to move away from them because he had become more powerful or more mightier than they. So we are told in last week's study that Isaac moved from where he was in Gerar all the way to the valley of Gerar. So this week we're going to continue on with that story, or from chapter 26. We're going to read from verses 18 all the way to verses 35 and listen to what the word of God says. And Isaac dug again the wells of water that had been dug in the days of Abraham his father, which the Philistines had stopped after the death of Abraham. And he gave them the names that his father had given them. But when Isaac's servant dug in the valley and found there a well of spring water, the herdsmen of Gerar followed with Isaac's herdsmen, saying, "The water is ours." So he called the name of the well Esek, because they contended with him. Then they dug another well, and they quarreled over that also, so he called its name Sitnah. And he moved from there and dug another well, and they did not quarrel over it, so he called its name Rehoboth, saying, "For now the Lord has made room for us, and we shall be fruitful in the land." From there he went up to Beersheba, and the Lord appeared to him the same night and said, "I am the God of Abraham your father. Fear not, for I am with you, and will bless you and multiply your offspring for my servant Abraham's sake." So he built an altar there and called upon the name of the Lord and pitched his tent there. And there Isaac's servant dug a well. When Abimelech went to him from Gerar with Ahuzah his advisor, and Phicol the commander of his army, Isaac said to them, "Why have you come to me, seeing that you hate me and have sent me away from you?" They said, "We see plainly that the Lord has been with you. So we say, let there be a sworn pact between you and us, and let us make a covenant with you, that you will do us no harm, just as we have not touched you, and have done to you nothing but good, and have sent you away in peace. You are now the blessed of the Lord." So he made them a feast, and they ate and drank. In the morning they rose early and exchanged oaths, and Isaac sent them on their way, and they departed from him in peace. The same day Isaac's servant came and told him about the well that they had dug, and said to him, "We have found water." He called it Sheba. Therefore the name of the city is Beersheba to this day. When Esau was 40 years old, he took Judith the daughter of Beeri the Hittite to be his wife, and Basemath the daughter of Elon the Hittite, and they made life bitter for Isaac and Rebekah. And that is the word of the Lord. So from what we have read, what can we observe from it? We see firstly that water was very important in these days of Isaac because of the drought and because of the area that they were living in. So they kept on digging well. But so we see the importance of water in that region. We also observe that Isaac dug wells and that his father had previously dug and was covered, but now they came and uncovered it, and he named them after what his father had named them. But still there was disputes among him and the Philistines herdsmen because of the wells, because we are told 2 wells that he dug, they came and claimed it as theirs, so he left it. And the third well that he dug, they let him have it, and he called its name Rehoboth. For now the Lord has made room for us, and we shall be fruitful in the land. So because water was very important for their survival, and also for the herds, the many herds that he had, that he owned, that needed water for them to live. So he moved from the valley of Gerar to Beersheba. We told that also, that he moved again from the valley to Beersheba, and there the Lord came to him and spoke to him as he was there, and he told him about he reminded him of being the God of his father Abraham, and told him not to fear, and told him that he will be with him and will bless him and multiply his offspring for the sake of Abraham his father, or for the sake of Abraham the servant of God. And there Isaac built an altar in a in a way of worship, and also he pitched his tent there, because now where the altar is, that's where people will dwell around because of worship. And there he lived now in Beersheba for some time, until now Abimelech learned of Isaac's dwelling in Isaac dwelling in Beersheba, and came with his army commander, and also came with his advisor. We are told they are called Phicol and Ahuzath. And they came, and Isaac was like, you guys chased me out of Gerar because you were not comfortable with me around there. Why are you coming to me, seeing that you hate me and have sent me away from you? But then they realized that we have seen God, the Lord blessed you, so we know that the Lord is with you. And so they told him, let us make a covenant so that you will do us no harm, just as we have not touched you and have done to you nothing but good, and have sent you away in peace. You are now blessed of the Lord. That is what they told him. The same way we saw earlier on how Abimelech came to Abraham and made a covenant with him, just so that they may maintain peace, because God was also with Abraham and had blessed him abundantly above the people of the Philistines. So here he's doing the same thing with his son, with the son of Abraham, to make peace, so that as he grows mightier than they will not have quarrels, or they will not have fights, or there is no way that Isaac now would want to come and overtake them, because they see they have made a pact, they have made a covenant with him to maintain peace amongst them. And we also observe that Isaac agreed to that proposal, and he went on and made a feast for them, and they ate and they drank, and in the morning they rose early and exchanged the oaths, and Isaac sent them on their way, and they departed from him in peace. So they made peace. Isaac and the Philistines, they made peace together, so that there were no war amongst them. And then we're told the same day his servants also dug another well. We see how important water was, and how digging the well was the only source of water for them. And he called it Sheba, and we're told from that name is where the name Beersheba came from, and that is how that place is still called Beersheba. And then now we are introduced to Esau, his firstborn son, or the first one to come out of the womb. We're told at 40 years old he married two Hittite women. One was Judith, the other one was Basemath, and also that they made life miserable or bitter for Isaac and Rebekah. And he went against all that his grandfather would have wanted for him, to marry daughters, or to marry a daughter from his own lineage or from his own kinsmen. But he went ahead and married amongst the Canaanites that they were not supposed to. So that is what we can observe from what we have read. So what can we learn from the passage that we have just read? We see that water was very important to the survival of the people in Canaan. They depended mostly on wells as their source of water. So there were no, maybe the streams of river had dried up because it was a drought season, or they're going through a drought, and there were no lakes for them to gather water, so it was only well to dig deep into the earth for them to find water, and it was very important. That is why even the Philistines, wherever the two times that Isaac's servant dug where they came and claimed it as theirs. So we see the importance of water for the survival of the people in Canaan, the time that Isaac was living there. We can also learn that the men of the Philistines did not want Isaac around them, so they always disputed about the wells he dug. You see the jealousy that came with it, the envious, so that when they see that there's a possibility of him prospering, because Isaac moved from Gerar to the valley of Gerar, so he was not far away from the Philistines. He was still close to them. So whenever they saw him digging where they were there's a possibility that he will prosper from this, so let us claim it as ours so that he can move away from us. But later on, there is a well, the two wells that he dug later on that remained to him. That they did not claim that is. And we can also learn that the Lord kept his promise to Abraham by passing it on to his son Isaac. He spoke of the offspring, he spoke of blessing, he spoke of his protection, telling him to fear not, and also he spoke of multiplying the offspring as for the sake of Abraham, so that the promises that were made to Abraham also was passed on to Isaac. And also God was also telling him to not fear, him being in a place where maybe he has a lot of enemies from the Philistines. God telling him, fear not, he is still with him. And from that same land, even though he's disputing about water and wells, that same land God will bless him, and his offspring will be multiple, or will multiply. And we can also learn that Isaac built an altar as a sign of worship and remained in Beersheba. So he also recognized the voice of God. He also had a conversation with God. So we see that also his faith was intact with God. He did not depart from the God of his father Abraham. He kept on as his servant or as his worshipper. Like, he remained worshiping Yahweh, the God that introduced himself to Abraham. And we see him in the act of worship by building an altar and also pitching his tent there and remaining there, and also listening to the word of God, and choosing also to remain in Beersheba, knowing that God will bless him, God will protect him, and God will also multiply his offspring. You can also learn that the Philistines thought it best to make peace with Isaac for their own sake, so that Isaac will not grow and become mightier than they and overtake them or overrun them, so that they came with him and made peace even before there ever rose a war amongst them. And we can also learn that they could clearly see that the Lord was with him. So the enemies, also his enemies, or his persecutors, or his pain in the neck. Yeah, those who did not seek well for him also will notice that the Lord was with Isaac. Those even who did not worship Yahweh also could see that the Lord, the God of the universe, was with Isaac. And we also learn of Esau and how he married late. His father married at 40, he also married at 40. And also we see that he went opposite of the wishes of his grandfather Abraham and married the Hittite women. And he also married 2 wives when it was kind of the norm to marry 1 wife. He went ahead and went with 2, and also he mingled with the people he was not supposed to. So like, he moved himself away from the promises that God had for the family, intentionally or unintentionally. Yeah, he moved from the will of God by marrying the Hittite women, and he married 2 of them. And his actions brought pain to his parents, meaning probably the women that he married were not coinciding with the morals or the values that Isaac and Rebecca had. So there was always wrangles. So that there was always wrangles amongst them. Maybe that is what caused pain among the household of Isaac with the women that Esau had brought in. And from the lessons that we have learned, what can we apply to our faith? We see first the tribulations, even when we are blessed, are sure to come. So that the Lord's blessing, even people will notice that you are blessed, and also many will become your enemies because you're blessed. We see that with Isaac, how he was told to move away from Gerar, and also how the people also disputed with him about the wells that he himself had dug, claiming to be theirs. So we see the tribulations followed him, even though he was wealthy and he was blessed. And then you can also apply to make peace with people, especially those who have God on their side. We see that action from Phicol and Abimelech, the king, and Ahuzah, the advisor, thinking that it is best for them to make peace with Isaac, so that they can remain in peace, because they could notice that God was on his side, or God was with him. And also we can learn not to go against the will of God. It will turn out to be trouble to you. We learn that from the action of Esau marrying the 2 Hittite women, that he was told not to marry from amongst the people of the land of Canaan and go back to his kindred in Mesopotamia and get wife from there, but probably he refused. And we see how that action that he took, marrying 2 women from the Canaanite people, brought trouble amongst his own household. And we can also apply that the Lord always speaks to his chosen people. He spoke to Isaac, he spoke to us, he speaks to us. So he always speaks to his chosen people. So he's not silent amongst his people. He'll always come and communicate to us. And you can also lastly apply to make a habit of worship. Make worship to be something that you do on a daily basis, on a continuous, on a consistent manner, so that you're always in the act of worship when it comes to God, so that your daily life, your daily living, you're living as a living sacrifice before God, holy and acceptable before him, so that worship becomes your daily routine. And yes, that is the study of Genesis for today. So if there's anything else you want to add to it, please write it down in the comment section below. And I thank you for joining me today. Until next week when we meet each other again, goodbye and God bless you.